Good morning. So, Venus has another message for the feminine today. And this morning when I woke up and I was doing my morning stretches, light yoga, making my coffee after having my water with my beef liver capsules, and just doing what I love to do, what feels so good to do, while saying, my affirmations. As I was nourishing myself, as I'm doing every morning to begin my day, I really started to hear this thing that my grandmother used to say to me and to my sister and to my mother and to just all the women in my family on my mother's side. And she used to say, get somewhere and sit down. Get somewhere and sit down. And that is what I started to hear. And I was getting that this was for me, but this is such a prevalent energy for the feminine right now, just generally speaking. This is a prevalent phrase, metaphor, direction, guidance, advice for the feminine right now, is to get somewhere and sit down, honey. And preferably, my recommendation, and I think Venus's recommendation, Spirit's recommendation, the Divine Feminine Council's recommendation, is that somewhere that you get is comfortable, it's cozy. And I don't mean comfortable by what you've known already, but comfortable in what you know deep down within you, in your inner compass, where that you deserve, the environment, the atmosphere where you deserve to be, because that's actually where you thrive the most, in being feminine and being a woman. And that doesn't mean that you set up that environment by yourself. Yeah, you do it for yourself, but the action that you take in setting that up and calling that in, that environment where you can rest, where you can relax, and you can focus on your receptivity and feeling safe in your receptivity, in your capacity to hold what wants to be provided for you. You call that in, that's your action to take. You claim it by writing it down and speaking it aloud, what you've written, under the moonlight, honey. Okay? You have prayer time, you have talks with Spirit, with this Divine Feminine Council, which is directly connected to Venus. You talk to the goddesses, and you claim this. You tell them what that environment looks like, what it feels like, and that you don't necessarily know how to get there. You don't know how that is necessarily going to be provided for you, or who it's going to be provided by. But you embrace. This is how you learn to get somewhere and sit down and do so without resistance, with the least resistance possible, is by embracing your feminine power, which is your receptivity. when you claim that power of yours that you have as a woman, as a feminine, to receive, when you recognize the power within that, you activate being provided for. You activate being provided for. You get your justice because you claim it. Because you claim this feminine power of receptivity, your right to receive. Justice is served. Justice is served. You receive what your heart desires and deserves, as it says here. Two cards flipped over here. You get your fortune. This is destiny, honey. This is what has been meant for you. It says here you receive the harvest of your work. And then you're provided for, and then you are protected. Okay? And the work is your receptivity. The work is the embrace of your feminine power and acting on that. And you have to understand something here is that, yeah, we all have inner feminine. Yeah, we all have inner masculine. Yeah, we want this to be balanced. Of course. But honey, it's a bit different for a woman in terms of how this balances out. It's a bit different for a woman than how this balances out for a man. You see, the more we relax, and it's the same in birth, you know, when I was studying to be a doula and a traditional birth attendant, I learned that the more that we relax as women, the more our throat, and it is through our bodies even, okay, our cells, our nervous system, okay, the more we relax in our bodies, which requires a quieting of the mind and the connecting to the breath, the connecting to the body, the more our pelvis opens with ease, the more our throat opens with ease, the more our uterus relaxes and bleeds with ease during our moon time, okay? It's all connected. So the way in which this balances out your inner feminine, your inner masculine as a woman, is through recognizing that the feminine will always be in the lead. She will always be the leader of the flow, the fluidity of life. She will always be in the lead position. And the masculine or inner masculine and men, okay, are meant to provide and protect the insight, the downloads, the realizations that our inner feminine receives about the fortune, about what is destined, about what is to come. We are the oracle. The feminine is the oracle, and the masculine is the protector and provider in the material. making sure that divine order, aka what is seen in and through the oracle, takes place in the material. So when you relax, so when you get somewhere and sit down, your fortune arrives with ease. That protection you crave from men, that being provided for by a man that you crave, honey, and crave it unapologetically. It can arrive, and it wants to. But it is through your relaxing. It is through your getting somewhere and sitting down. You know, a friend of mine was just telling me this morning that she dreamt last night that she was in a house, her house, and it was broken into by all these people. And you know, a home, a house in the dream is always a representation of ourself, okay? If you're in a temple or if you're in a home, a house, in your dream world, know from me saying this right now and going forward, okay, that is a representation of yourself. Your home and your house in the dream is you, okay? And she said that these people broke in, you know, and they were just kind of running amok until there was just this one person that said to her something like, you know, you're not meant to be, you don't need to be running around to all of these different places. That's not how you receive your fortune, your blessing, what's destined for you, what you desire, what you crave. So this is really such a time, honey, of getting somewhere and sitting down. And I was just hearing and seeing Jupiter in Cancer, and the Wheel of Fortune is Jupiter here. Okay. Jupiter here, and we've got two Venusian energies here as well, Libra and Taurus. And with Jupiter in Cancer, you know, we really actually are meant to, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. We're meant to receive our fortune, our abundance, our prosperity, our blessings, what's destined through this Cancerian energy, which is rest, which is relaxing, which is slowness, which is going at our own pace, our authentic pace, especially as women. As Cancer rules women, Cancer rules in our bodies, our reproductive organs. And Cancer is ruled by the moon. So it must be at this flow. We must ride the waves of life at our own authentic pace. So that we can receive what we crave. And what we crave, as I said in the last Venus message for the feminine, what we crave, what we desire is a direct reflection of our essence. It is a direct reflection of our lineage. It is a direct reflection of our destiny, of our truth. And your inner compass has always known this, has always had access to this. And it's been your instincts that have needed to adapt. And they are doing so now. That is happening now. And they're guided by your inner compass, your intuition, your feminine power, being the oracle, being the intuit. You can relax because you're the oracle. Hello, honey. The power is actually in our hands. The power is actually in our vision, our wombs, our bodies. We know what is coming. We've switched off this connection to being the intuit, to being the oracle. We've switched off our ability to see the future, to feel the future, to sense the future, because we have been so wrapped up in the obstacle of the now in this 3D world, which has been created by, we'll just call it toxic masculinity, actually. This idea of this modern day idea of feminism is actually so diluted, polluted by toxic masculinity, aka capitalism, honey. And the moment that we take a step back from this idea, this concept of making shit happen, being the independent woman who can do it herself, running around, running amok, right? The moment we take a step back from that and we welcome in the collaborative forces internally of our, like I said, inner feminine and inner masculine, and then also on the outside, external, us being the feminine and men being the masculine, when we take a step back and we root ourselves, sit into our seat, our throne of feminine power, of receptivity, receiving the insight, being the oracle, the intuit, and receiving in the material what the masculine wants to provide, naturally, we are aligning with our fortune. We are aligning with what we crave. Shut off that projection, okay, the conditioned mind of yours that says what you crave is impossible. No, it's impossible in the way that you've been living. That's impossible. You've got to shift the perspective. You've got to shift gears, honey. And it's up to us as the woman. It's up to us as the feminine, like I said, because the feminine will always be in the leadership position. Because she's the intuit. She's the oracle. She sees a clear vision of what's to come. And the masculine assures in the material that we're headed in that direction. Okay? Now, the other thing is that we have got to be this reminder for each other as women, as the feminine. as the feminine, surrounded by other feminines who are, if not even, so mastered in terms of the balance of this inner feminine and inner masculine, and being in the feminine power of receptivity. It does not have to be mastered yet in order for us to be around one another, supporting the regulation, like I said, of one another's nervous systems, so that we can get somewhere and sit down, so that we can relax. We've got to be this for each other right now and going forward. This is a forever thing. All hands on deck. Okay. I see the Sisters of the Moon here in this image. All these cards have the moon in them. Moon there, moon here. And this one is the full moon, and they've got all of their hands on deck here on this moon. We are all in devotion just by coming together, supporting one another in the regulation of our nervous system so that we can relax, so that we can be in our feminine power of receptivity. We are all together going with, like I said, that those riding those waves ruled by the moon, okay, at our own authentic pace as the feminine. We are not meant to flow at the pace of the masculine, especially when it comes to this material 3D reality and experience. So it's time to get somewhere and sit down. Relax, regulate, get really, really good at relaxing so that you can hold what your inner compass knows is meant for you in terms of your receiving in the material. I will continue with the tarot here in the extended, and we will go into very specifics that are coming your way, opportunities that are availing themselves to you as the feminine right now, okay, in the extended video. And I'll see you next time.